It's official. Chip Scoggins, Niko Medved, former Colorado State coach, has been hired as the next Gophers men's basketball coach. Breaking news as of Monday. Got the official word a little after 1 p.m. Monday, Chip. No surprise. He's been the front runner. Everybody's been talking about this as if it's going to happen. It happens. Mark Coyle seemingly got his guy, his first choice. Your reaction to the news?
Yeah, sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice. And this reminds me a lot of when Coyle went looking for P.J. Fleck, a football coach. PJ was his number one guy on his list, and that's who he went and got. You didn't hear a lot of other names out there that were legitimate. I think he zeroed in on Nico in the same way that he did with PJ and was willing to wait. Right. I mean, I think it became obvious for a multitude of reasons, but it's a good day for Gopher Athletics because a lot of attention and focus will be on Nico. Grew up here. He was born here. He went to school here. He was assistant coach here. To me, the number one thing to be excited about is he's been a successful head coach at 3 different places. This is not a training ground for him. He's coming in, having run multiple programs, having been to the NCAA tournament, having success in the NCAA tournament, came within a last-second shot of being in the Sweet 16. When you're in the Big Ten and at this moment with all the things that are going on in college athletics, you need somebody who's sat in that chair before.
I was kind of chuckling to myself last night, imagining Mark Coyle watching the end of the Maryland-Colorado State game and rooting perhaps for...
Yeah.
I'm sure he wanted to root for Nico, that's his guy, but also probably kind of wanting that to be done so Maryland gets the last minute or last second bucket. No travel is called. There could have maybe been a traveling on that play. Like I thought Colorado State was the better of the two teams in that game. Maryland made a bunch of shots. So like send maybe a bouquet of flowers to Maryland and the ref because if this thing goes another week, like you never know. Like Niko Medved becomes a Sweet 16 coach. Maybe he makes a surprise Final Four run. You never know who else jumps into the mix. You never know if he stays, who becomes available. Obviously, the quote in his release basically saying, this job was too special to pass up, and when the opportunity presented itself, I had to take it. Like this is where he wants to be. But I also was thinking, like, hey, wasn't necessarily a bad thing that Maryland made that shot last night to speed this whole process up. Especially today, the portal opens today, so there you go.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, the timing would have been bad had they won that game. Obviously, if you're any school and you say, this is the guy we have, then you wait as long as it takes. And it would have been less ideal, but they're looking at this as a long-term play, not a one-year thing. And obviously the portal opens today. He basically, I've never seen a situation where a coach has to essentially have a brand new team. I think they only have 2 guys on scholarship left. So you're looking to bring in 12, 13 guys that you have to add to. I mean, it's just incredible the work that he's going to have to do in the portal and recruiting. But this is a long play. You see there his contract's for 6 years. This is not a one-year thing. And so as long as it took, I'm sure Coyle's going to be patient. Yeah, granted, it does help him being able to get in here a week earlier when the portal starts. And I got to imagine as soon as the contract is signed and the recruiting stuff, all that gets fulfilled, because I think you have to actually literally take a recruiting test when you go when you hire a new coach. But with compliance, I'm guessing he's going to be on the phone a lot tonight. Nico is trying to find some players because it'll go fast in the portal. So, I mean, this is. I guess you could say it worked out perfectly for Mark Cole in that he didn't have to wait another week, and Nico too. When I have to imagine that Mark Cole is not going to talk to a coach directly while he's still involved in the NCAA tournament, but darn well he was talking to his agent and people behind the scenes to make sure that they were in a good spot. As soon as they were eliminated, they were going to be able to move quickly and get this deal done.
Open a smart checking account at Royal Credit Union to get no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and a $250 bonus. See details at rcu.org/checking bonus. No minimum balance required to obtain bonus. Offer ends 5/31/25. Insured by NCUA.
You mentioned the local angle. From here, grew up going to Gophers games, student manager with, on Clem's teams when he was a student here, got his master's degree here. Like, he's got deep Minnesota ties. And a lot of people sometimes kind of roll their eyes at that. Like, why do you got to go get someone who's got those local ties? Where it matters to me is less in the roots in the community or being able to recruit Minnesota. Is that's how you get a coach of this caliber or an uppercomer to come here. Like, someone who doesn't have those ties might not look at Minnesota as the destination job that Niko Medved does. Well,
when Mark Cole fired Ben Johnson, he said this is an attractive job. Well, to Niko Medved, it is an attractive job because it's his home. I roll my eyes if we say those things. If a coach hasn't been a head coach or you feel like it's a reach, then it's like, okay, are we just doing this for provincialism? Well, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a guy who's from here, who loves this program, who knows it intimately. And, oh, by the way, he's also a successful head coach, and he knows how to run a program. And so it will help in terms of he already has relationships with coaches here. He recruits this area. He knows the landscape. The other thing is, Mike, he knows the institution. He knows the challenges. He knows where they need to get better at. He knows all those things about this school and the program, where you're not just coming in eyes wide open like, hey, how do things work? Where's the front door? Where's, all these things. He's going to be able to hit the ground running, which he has to, because you've got to assemble a roster. And, oh, by the way, this is the first year that you're assembling a roster with revenue sharing. And so I assume that was a big part of his conversations with Mark Cole, is like, hey, how much NIL money do I have? What percentage of that $20.5 million in the House versus settlement that's supposed to get approved by a judge next month in April? What percentage of that for men's basketball are we going to have to spend on the roster? Those are, critical questions that you have to be able to answer if you're Mark Cole when you go out and hire him. And so, and the other thing is, Marcus Fuller, our Gophers basketball report, reported that West Virginia had targeted Niko too. So Niko too. So there were options here. Now, you have the advantage of this being his home, but there couldn't be a gulf between the two. What both schools are options. I mean, you want to come home, but not if you feel like you're set up to fail. And so,
and West Virginia was his wife's home. That's where she came from.
Correct.
So there's that piece of it too.
Yeah. So to me, this, as much as there is the allure of coming home, I think there is a component with Niko taking this job that tells me that he believes that the investment's going to be there institutionally, and that's a big part of this whole thing, because if it's how it has been, that's not going to be good enough. They have to make the investment.
I want to get into that in a different segment with you that will run Tuesday. But last thing for this, as we kind of talk through the breaking news of this feels like a different kind of hire than they've made in men's basketball. You made the Fleck comparison. I think that's a good one. But like the Ben Johnson hire, that was an assistant coach. They wanted it to work out, but it just didn't. The Richard Pitino hire, obviously that predates Coyle, but that was not their first choice. That was not their fourth choice.
Not a lot of experience. Not much. I think he'd been a head coach 1 year, maybe 2 year. At that point.
And Ben Johnson was not a head coach at all before he came here. The coach they had before that, Tubby Smith, obviously had a pedigree, but he kind of hired himself. He was at the end of his career. Like, they haven't had a guy kind of like in his prime who has these kind of ties. Like, he kind of checks more boxes than they've been able to check, I think, in any hire that I can remember.
Well, that's it.
For men's basketball. Yes.
For men's basketball, that's exactly right. If you go back to Tubby, it's like he was looking for something, right? He went and searched
an escape hatch. Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't like Joel Maturi woke up and said, "I'm gonna hire Tubby Smith," Yeah, and then the last, with Pitino, he had some head coaching experience, but not a lot. He was young.
He was 30 when he got hired. He was very young. Yeah.
And Ben Johnson had none. They're getting in Nico, a 51-year-old head coach who has been a head coach, albeit not at the major, the power conferences, but a head coach in Division I basketball for, I think this is his 13th season, 12th or 13th season. So more than a decade of experience of running a program. We know what his offense looks like, which is an attractive, that motion offense. He's dealt with transfer portal. He's dealt with NIL. As the guy, as the main guy, he's put a stamp on programs. And so we've seen them, you're right, have to go down the list or to fallback options or to take kind of leaps of faith. Doesn't guarantee he's going to be successful, but this isn't a leap of faith. You're getting a proven head coach with a lot of experience. And so I think that's why this is. And then you add on all the other things that he's from Roseville and knows the program. I think this is a great hire. I mean, you should be excited. I got to imagine Gopher fans are really excited because to me, you're getting the best of both worlds in terms of one of us, right? But a guy who also has run a program at multiple places.